I know from our fascinating conversations leading up to today that the one of these four that you are most animated by is about love and support, which I would have said is the one that people may have the least control over. So how does that one work?
Well, we tend to think that the time we spend with our friends and families are kind of the luxury that we do after we've done all the important stuff. But what the studies are showing, that it is the important stuff. That study after study has shown that people who are lonely and depressed and isolated are 3 to 10 times more likely to get sick and die prematurely than those who have a sense of love and connection and community. And, Nicholas Christakis at Harvard found that if your friend, we're so interconnected that if your friends are obese, you're 45% more likely to be obese. If your friends' friends are obese, you're 25%. And if your friend's friend's friend is obese, you're 10% more likely, even if you've never met them.
Now, how does that work? Because
we're just so interconnected. People used to criticize my work and say, oh, this is so California, this is so touchy-feely. And I'd say, no, look at, I've got the, here are the quantitative arteriograms and the cardiac positron emission tomography and radionuclide ventriculography and blah, blah, blah. And then one day I said, you know what? It is touchy-feely. That's what makes it work. Because we are touchy-feely creatures. We're creatures of community. That's been a running theme throughout Davos this year, is that we are all interconnected and we rise or fall together. And part of the value of science is that it can raise awareness. And many people aren't aware that the time that we spend with our friends and family and loved ones is the most important predictor of your health and survival, more than smoking, more than diet, more than anything. I wrote a book called Love and Survival about this back in 1998. There were hundreds and now thousands of studies showing that, again, if you spend time with your friends and family and loved ones, that's probably the most healthy thing that you can do.
But a lot of the conversation we've been having this week about connectedness and its importance is technological, it's virtual connectedness.
Yeah.
And so I'm wondering whether you think that the capacity to stay in touch with friends and family electronically enhances this part of our lives, or it gets in the way of it because it is so easy then to, in a way, be isolated in our little virtual world where there isn't actually any genuine contact. How does how does that work?
Well, technology is neither good or bad. It's how you use it, as you know. It's just another form of power, and it can be used to connect us. When I'm traveling and I can FaceTime with my wife Ann and our kids, it's a beautiful thing. If I'm watching, especially my 14-year-old Lucas and his friends, and they're like all sitting together and they're all texting and they're not even talking to each other. That's a kind of a way of using technology to isolate each other. So it really depends on how we use it. But studies have shown that virtual support groups, are very powerful. And the best, of course, is when you can be with someone face to face. There's an energy, I think, that gets transmitted that we don't necessarily know how to measure, but you can feel it. And I think that energy, that intimacy is healing. The word healing comes from the root to make whole. The word yoga is from the Sanskrit to meaning to yoke, to unite, to bring together. That anything that creates intimacy is healing. These are really old ideas that we're rediscovering.